third guest, of course, is Barry Garner. Barry Garner attended the first Introduction to Creative Writing as part of community education at VU. I wasn't going to do this. Just give me a moment. He has studied units in professional writing and editing at TAFE just more recently, and has also done units in his Bachelor of Arts at VU. His first anthology, Heroes and Daydreams, a collection of personal pieces, was published at VU 15 years ago. Last year, Barry Garner's Halos in the Windscreen, which is on sale here tonight, was published by Apricot Tree Press. He lives in Sunbury with Carol and his gorgeous wife and Holly and Dylan. He is my friend, Barry Garner.
G'day. I can relate to Raymond saying I'm not a writer because I'm not. I'm actually in banking and advertising. Well, I clean a bank and deliver junk mail. So I guess, yeah, if I was a car salesman, I'd say that I was in banking and finance. I told you I'd try stand-up. How'd I go? All right. In the beginning, there were sleepless nights. In the beginning, there was worry, self-doubt, and racing thoughts, which made sleep impossible. I read a self-help book back then, which reckoned if you couldn't sleep, you should get out of bed, write down whatever was troubling you, and just get it all out. So that's what I did. I'd sit there in the middle of the night, writing down my racing thoughts. Writing for me wasn't an artistic pursuit. It was medicine. The thought of anyone ever seeing those endless sentences of my inner life would have defeated the purpose. But much to my surprise, this method of a writing sleeping pill worked. I'd leave all the bad stuff on the page of a Spirax notebook and finally drift off to sleep. One night, when I got all my worries out, I wrote a poem. I didn't know how or why, it just kind of came out. I hadn't tried to write anything since back in the dark ages at the prestigious Collingwood Technical School, which wasn't particularly prestigious. Back then, for me, writing was a nightmare. My shaky hands and fountain pens were natural enemies, and getting anything onto a page was a struggle. I didn't want to be a writer. Truth is, I couldn't think of anything worse. But here I was in the wee small hours, in my dressing gown and slippers, writing a poem. For a long time, I kept my strange nocturnal habits a secret. When I finished writing something, I'd tear it up and whack it in the bin, convinced that anyone ever saw it, it would confirm the fact that I was quite mad and in need of immediate psychiatric attention. My first writing class was at TAFE in St Albans. And I guess in today's economic climate, it would probably be considered not worth funding. It didn't lead to a new career. I didn't pay a king's ransom in fees, but I reckon it would be impossible to put what those classes did for me on a pie chart. At the age of 44, I realised that writing was a legitimate activity. The classrooms can create community, and that the toing and froing of stories is a gift. So to say, Bruno, I didn't learn much about style, or form, or plot. But I learned a lot about honesty and sharing and saving the things of every day and taking risks. My love affair with writing, like most love affairs, has run hot and cold. I wish I had the discipline of a Helen Garner or a Bryce Courtney, who plonked themselves at a desk for an 8-hour stint and just write. But that's not my way. Writing isn't my job. Writing is a friend I turn to when I need to find out who I am today. Writing lets me say on the page things that my nervous voice won't allow me to say aloud. I often leave a social situation and an hour later think of what I should have said. I get to know what my opinions and passions are, not in the heat of a conversation, but by sitting down at the kitchen table, scribbling words onto a page. Writing gives me the chance to wander back to the streets where I grew up, the chance to hear and smell and feel things which would otherwise be beyond my reach. Writing lets me celebrate my past and cheer my heroes. My heroes didn't make the papers, didn't make a fortune, but by living their ordinary lives, made my life extraordinary. To those of you here that write, keep going. To those of you who want to write, throw yourself into it. Pick up a pen and write about your world. Tell us what moves you, what excites you, and even what pisses you off. Write about politicians that only want votes, millionaires that only want more, and refugees that are treated like invaders. Over the past 6 months, I've had the opportunity to run some writing workshops. And it wasn't a case of who called the teacher a bastard. The real question was, who called the bastard a teacher? During those sessions, I got to share my love of writing and hopefully encourage the group to scratch out a few lines of their own. I shared how, for me, writing has become a way of coping with mental illness in the hope that it may help others. At the end of the last workshop, they presented me with a pen as a parting gift. But the real gift they gave me was the confirmation that writing and living and finding your voice is important. Last year, I had a collection of my stories published, and that was a heady experience. I've got a little book that marks 20-odd years of chasing daydreams. To be published is a privilege, but to quote Paul Bateman in the recent edition of Platform, to be published is a bonus. To be published is the last and least in the chain of true creation. Thank you.
They're wonderful nights, they're very inspiring, and you're full of a great community spirit and get you fired up to keep writing and keep sharing stories.